please indulge this thought experiment. Imagine a group of mostly older women, as well as little children who were Christian, Jewish, Muslim, led by a priest, came together in Russia, outside the Kremlin, to sing Christmas carols and read poems in support of peace, to oppose the slaughter of innocent people. And then the Russian police moved in to threaten them all with arrest. What would you think? How would our media report it? Well, I can tell you, it'd be presented as damning evidence of what an oppressive police state Vladimir Putin runs. But this happened here, in Britain, in London, at an interfaith event in Parliament Square, compared by a vicar, in which carols were sung and poems were read out to oppose the slaughter of the Palestinian people in a genocide armed and facilitated by our own government. Here's some footage of the event.
Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry, 1 minute.
We have to start moving now.
The priest is just saying a blessing, please.
He's just saying a peace blessing.
And then we will move.
Yeah. Excuse me, you're insulting God now, and you're insulting Jesus.
We're going to have to start leaving. I understand, I've just been told by my inspector, you guys have to start leaving now, I've been told.
So that you may live deep within your heart. May God bless you with anger and injustice, oppression and exploitation of all people, so that you may work for justice, freedom and peace. May God bless you with tears to shed those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation and disease, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and to turn their pain into joy. May God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in this world.
The protest was organised by a range of organisations, like branches of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, which of course has been the driving force for the Palestinian cause here in Britain, Jewish Voice for Labour, Christians for Palestine, Queers for Palestine, and so on. Now, I was honoured to talk to Helen Burnett, who is a Church of England priest. She compared the event, and Diana Neslin, a veteran activist for Jews for Justice, who was part of the event as well. So this was an interfaith event, obviously in support of the movement for So this was an interfaith event, and it was an interfaith event which was drawing attention to the genocide being suffered by the Palestinian people at the hands of the Israeli state, not just Muslim Palestinians, but of course Christian Palestinians. And this brought together Muslims, Christians, and Jewish people, non-believers, obviously using the festive time as a very important hook. Now, I think the way the police responded is informative about how those who are active for Palestinian justice are treated, but also the general state of civil liberties in this country, I would say. I just want to start with you, actually, Helen. You're a vicar in the Diocese of Southwark. You've been active in movements for justice, I know, for a long time. Can you just tell us a bit more about what this event was all about?
The event was really about bringing the carols out onto the streets. There are carol services happening across London at this time of year in nice, cosy, sanctified places. And they are peddling something of a myth to people who want to just swallow hook, line and sinker the idea of baby Jesus, meek and mild, and have their little shot of Christianity and then go back to shopping. So for me, the disconnect between the words of the carols and what is actually happening on the ground in Palestine right now is like a massive wound in my ministry at the moment. So the opportunity to sing in an interfaith context with my Muslim and Jewish siblings with words that reflect the actual facts on the ground for Palestinian Christians, Muslims and Jews, and also re-own the words from some of the mythologizing that has gone on because Jesus was a Palestinian Jew born into occupied territory. So it felt like a golden opportunity to sing words that are profoundly moving to very familiar tunes. And there's a sort of dissonance between the tunes that are so familiar to us and then the words coming across that are less familiar because they've been rewritten to amplify the story of the genocide and the apartheid in Palestine right now.
I mean, Diana, you're a veteran activist with Jews for Justice for Palestinians. Why was this important for you, this event? What was it all about for you?
It's very important for Jews to recognise that obviously some Jews celebrate Christmas, others don't, but it's important for all of us to recognise what is happening and what is being done in Israel, in Palestine, and what is being done by Jews at this time. And we have to reflect the fact that we disapprove strongly of what is going on. And most of the words that were written for the carols were written by Jewish people. Jewish people who feel a sense of shock, a sense of horror, a sense of shame, and for some of us, rage. I can't describe the feelings that those of us have who are watching what is going on and feeling helpless. So this is one way of reflecting our views, our feelings at a very difficult time.
Very courageous, and it's obviously been inspiring throughout on both sides of the Atlantic. How many, of course, Jewish activists has been in the movement for Palestinian liberation? What happened then with the police? Helen, do you want to explain, or Diana, whoever wants to go first?
I think I was at the centre of things because I was sort of comparing the event. So I was close to the Christ in a Rubble that we had created, of course, referring to Munther Isaac's nativity scene in his church.
For those who don't know, of course, he's a pastor in Bethlehem, just so everyone knows who Munther Isaac is.
Yeah, so we were using this iconic image that he had a year ago. So we'd recreated that with the crib from my church and a baby and so on. I was at the centre, so I was within a group of sort of 6-7 deep. But I was very aware as we began, after probably the first carol, of a very heavy police presence. So the police beginning to edge towards us and then starting to see police officers addressing carol singers, talking to them, and I became increasingly aware that actually they were beginning to threaten to arrest people. So then we had decisions to make because we brought people together into a safe space. We wanted actually to create a sacred space where there could be a real sense of the sacred of all people there and the voices of all people being heard. But there was this sense, and then the vans pulled up, and then a whole contingent of the Met turned up on the pavement and lined up, and I started to get a real sense that they were very intentional about their disruption and interruption of what we were doing. Diana may have more to add to that.
Yeah, Diana, what's your kind of recollection?
Well, what happened was they came and told us we would be arrested, and we asked what for, and they said for protesting, and we said we were singing carols. And they said, well, you've got Palestinian flags. And we said, well, Jesus was a Palestinian and was born in Bethlehem. Then they said that we couldn't understand why we would be arrested and what we had done wrong. And they said there was this Section 14 which is part of the Police and Criminal Act of 2000. Section 14, they can disperse what they call a standing protest. And although we tried to reason with them that this was not a protest, this was a carol singing, they were absolutely committed to what they were doing, which was really quite difficult for us to understand. I had a speech that I was going to give. Helen was going to give a blessing. Everything was disrupted. It was a wonderful, inspirational experience, and yet suddenly it felt violent and destructive and abusive and harassing. And that's what I told the police in my complaint letter. Because it felt as if what we were doing was good and what they were trying to do was make us bad and criminal almost criminalising.
Interesting that you should mention the blessing, Diana, because as I was trying to get the final blessing, we decided to draw it to a close because of this threat of arrest and didn't want to make people vulnerable. As I started the blessing, I know that I had 4 nuns present who were saying to the police, you can't possibly stop this, a blessing is happening. So it was a sort of real extraordinary kind of collision of police power and worship of a type.
I mean, I have to say, just, taking a step back, I mean, anybody's seen the video footage, just to be, don't take this the wrong way, not the most threatening image I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, literally just a group of, often many older women in particular, standing around singing carols. What possible justification in the minds of the police could there be to use police powers to threaten to arrest people? What possible violent disruption could possibly be imagined from a carol service for peace? That's what's astonishing here, isn't it? It's just surreal. And what you'd expect in a tin pot dictatorship.
It's something that you find in police states. It's something you find in authoritarian states. It's not something you expect in this country. And they were not only, I have to say I'm disabled, I have crutches, and there were children, little children there, with mothers who were frightened and who will grow up feeling that the police are not their friends.
Wow.
So
that... Good to have political education early, I feel, but carry on.
Well, I understand that. But it was, I cannot think. And in fact, when they wrote back to me following my complaint.
So just explain that. You complained to the police and then they got back. Tell us about that.
Police, yes. I sent them a letter of complaint and I got a very quick response, extremely quick. They didn't even interview any witnesses. I'd given a couple of names as witnesses. And they said they couldn't find any reason for their action, but they gave me a few options, namely that we would be that there was a chance of of noise and disruption, and also I'm sorry, I've got something wrong, and also of disturbing other communities, which I haven't got the exact words. I can see them.
I mean,
there are very particular powers in Parliament Square about noise, aren't there, since the new police crime sentencing bill? And I think they're very muddled. That would be a generous.
I've got the letter here.
They're muddled about how they apply those. So we were making a noise. The man who objected to the Iraq War, as a result of his encampment, the rules changed around Parliament Square. You could say it might have been that. Is it okay if I just read a bit? Because I've got your letter here. Yeah, is it okay if I read a bit from it? Because in it, he says, I would like to apologise on behalf of the Metropolitan Police for any upset or distress caused due to the dispersal. I've checked on intelligence system to find out why dispersal was ordered so I could offer you an explanation. Unfortunately, I could not find anything relating to the incident. And then it goes on, there's several reasons, as you say, the dispersal might be in place. One might be to do with public safety. If the crowds were getting too big or if traffic was being disrupted, well, that doesn't apply. I mean, it was a modest-sized carol service, I would say. Traffic, you weren't standing in the middle of the road. Another reason may have been the event may have been causing public/community tensions. I mean, that really is Orwellian. It's an interfaith event. It's an event of Christians, Jewish people, and Muslims. It's literally bringing communities together. What could be better for dealing with community tensions than a show of solidarity between the 3 Abrahamic faiths, the 3 religions of the Holy Land? I mean, come on. I mean, it's just stupid, isn't it? I'm not saying any of these reasons were the cause. The reason they're not saying there's a reason for the cause is because they are nonsense. But it could have been a possibility. Well, clearly not. So the Met clearly they said, we have no idea. They've then come up with 2 hypotheticals, which are irrelevant, completely and utterly irrelevant. And then says, I hope you have a positive experience should another event be organised. But of course, you will now have, rationally, as others will have,
the fear that any event, however mundane, not mundane, I don't want to belittle, it's an important event, but however vanilla, if you like, however, the most, the least possible aggressive protest is an interfaith event with carols, will always have that fear. The police could get involved, leading people to feel harassed and threatened, including little children. So it's not good enough, is it? That response is not good enough. They've said, oh, no idea. Here's 2 reasons which aren't applicable.
I'm not sure whether, in fact, they got a bloody nose out of that. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about whether other people complained. But I mean, the look for the Metropolitan Police was very bad.
Very bad.
And we also know that the Section 14 dispersal orders, 98% of them are used by the Metropolitan Police. And the Metropolitan Police already has a problem in terms of its of the feelings of the local people. It has to regain confidence, and this is no way to regain confidence of the local population, who already are extremely suspicious of the Metropolitan.
Yeah, and as you allude to, I mean, a government report last year found that the Metropolitan Police are institutionally racist, institutionally sexist, institutionally homophobic, and institutionally corrupt. So there's a threat to community relations. I don't think it comes from an interfaith event of Jewish, Christian, and Muslim people for peace, singing carols. I think probably the Metropolitan Police have more answers in that respect. I'm just finally, though, I mean, well done for taking a stand, both of you, but also for being able to come forward and speak about this. I mean, just, we don't want to obviously put people off. I mean, it's more important to organise events like this in response. But I suppose, what would your final message be, just in terms of, what your resolution to keep speaking out, Helen?
My resolution is to build on these interfaith connections, because I think that they're so powerful. They're clearly so powerful, they frighten the Met. So they must be doing something right, to be able to form those links and to be really visible about that, to push back against the binary argument that this is an Arab-Jewish affair. This is about ordinary people from all faiths and none who are being slaughtered. And the more we can speak out against that, the more we can be seen to be unified. That is what's frightening. The we are many, they are few syndrome applies to faith as well as many other areas of political activism.
And indeed, the Christian community of Gaza, which has been there for the most of the time that Christianity has existed, may not survive this.
Absolutely. It's a tiny minority now.
Exactly.
Thousands.
And I've interviewed Gazan Christians on this channel whose whose relatives have been murdered. One of them, their father, and their little sister, both Palestinian Christians who were killed by Israel's genocide in Gaza.
And actually, these events give them so much hope. I mean, that's one of the things. I'm in touch with the Al-Makrour family, with the Qasir family in the Al-Makrour Valley, and when they know things like this are happening, it's a tiny glimmer of hope for them. What
about you, Diana?
This must go on. Our answer has to be, we will not be intimidated. We will not allow them to challenge us and to say we have no place here. It is our place. We are the people speaking for humanity. We are the people speaking for truth, for justice, for equality, and for self-determination. We will not be intimidated. We will not be corralled into some little place that silences us. For many of us Jews who have chosen to stand against oppression, silence has always been the option that Zionists use. And now it feels as if the Metropolitan Police is using that as well. But what we need to do is to show that our unity is an answer to that. Our unity is the way we fight back. Our unity is the way we show the world what is best and what is good and what is right, at a time when we're seeing evil every single day on our phones, on our televisions. And we need to stand up and we need to stand strong. And that is our message. All of us together will be, and one day, please, I mean, this is our message. This is our message for New Year. This is our message for Christmas. And it's our message for Hanukkah, which happens at the same time and which is happening at the same space. So that is what we need to say.
Amen.
Amen. Amen to that. I was going to say amen to that. A very powerful and galvanizing message for the new year. I feel galvanized by that. Galvanized to do more, as we all should do, to use everything we have in our power, every platform we have to speak out against one of the most obscene crimes of our age, directly facilitated and armed by our governments. And indeed, as we speak, the people of Palestine, as many will be celebrating across the West, are starving, being slaughtered in the apocalyptic ruins of Gaza, whilst others are suffering pogroms in the West Bank. So let's remember that we have a privilege to speak out here when so many are being butchered and ignored by media outlets which are complicit in this genocide. Thank you so much for both of your courage, your determination, your wisdom, and your resolution. Everyone watching this video, please share it, get their words out, leave comments, press like. That's good for the algorithm, therefore more people listen. Please be galvanized. The lesson here is not, of course, to be intimidated. It's to be more determined to speak out. So let's do that in the new year. Thanks so much to both of you.
Thank you for asking us. Thank you.